The clock is ticking on a Brexit, Britain's potential exit from the EU. Propaganda has relabeled this process as Britain leaving Europe, as if not under a tyrannical rule is traitorous. George Soros is completely interconnected with the elite, and it's obvious what his words are intended to accomplish. By making a public statement of false accusations based on fear, Soros can do his part as a minion of this system to keep this totalitarian system of technocratic elite in control. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we will talk about the comments made by George Soros and interconnect that with the historical data so you can be prepared for what we may see as this Brexit vote occurs. So let's get right to it. As you look at this article out of The Guardian, the world's most famous currency speculator has warned a vote on Thursday for Britain to leave the EU would trigger a bigger and more damaging fall for the sterling than the day he forced Britain out of the exchange rate mechanism almost a quarter of a century ago. Now, in this article here is funny about it that they talk about the quantum fund. The quantum fund, interesting because many of you know Jim Rogers. Jim Rogers being basically the lead of the quantum fund, yet George Soros takes all the credit. George Soros, writing for The Guardian, said the Brexit vote would spark a Black Friday for the EU, but the devaluation of the sterling would bring none more benefit to the economy than enjoyed after the drop out of the ERM on 1992 September, Black Wednesday as they call it. So this ERM, remember that exchange rate mechanism. I'm going to actually show you the history on that very soon. In 1992, there would be big financial gains for speculators who had bet on the UK leaving the EU, but that such an outcome would leave most voters considerably poorer, generating fear. That's the best thing about the mainstream media, that they can generate fear in the public and get them to repeat these messages. So instead of what I try to do here is just give the information out, the mainstream media uses talking points to project propaganda, and they will in fact use their minions of the system, high level in this case, but they will use these individuals in order to push their propaganda. Soros said that unlike Black Wednesday, there's little scope for a cut in interest rates. The UK was running a much larger current account deficit, and the exporters will be unable to exploit the benefits of a cheaper pound due to the uncertainty caused by a vote to leave the EU. And you know, this is the type of thing that's just silly, that they're trying to make these accusations right away when they have absolutely no idea what will happen. They're going to say that there will be a devaluation of the pound, and that all of a sudden that's going to make exports much cheaper, which to some degree I guess it would, but that's not the way this works. It's not a developing nation where all of a sudden they devalue their currency down to the ground, is worthless practically, and then yes, you know, the exports will continue, but it doesn't happen like that in this situation. But of course, I'm not even saying that it would happen in the other direction. I'm saying there's a lot of uncertainty, something that you would not want to bet on. Sterling is almost certain to fall steeply and quickly if Leave wins the referendum, right? That's what he's saying. We're at the bottom paragraph here. I would expect this devaluation to be bigger and also more disruptive than the 15% devaluation that occurred in September 1992. And he says basically that he made a lot of profit off of that. And that was obviously very true. However, there's no way to expect that this would happen again just based on what we know here, suggesting that if Britain wants to leave the EU, that's somehow weak for their nation. That's strong if they want to. I think it should go the other way around, of course, but the currency manipulators would perhaps, if this actually happens, I'm not suggesting that it will, But if they were actually able to leave, the currency manipulators can punish them by pushing their currency down. That is possible. And then we have this right here, the next article, which is the history of it all. Very quickly, I'll just cover this. As you look at this here, sterling had joined the EU's long-standing exchange rate mechanism in 1990, but it struggled to remain inside its designated floating band. Whenever you try to put together a whole bunch of nations on one interest rate, one currency, you're going to have problems. This is another example. Many people don't know about this. I'm not going to cover it in depth. Absolutely, you can do your own research. But essentially what we have is the same problems being repeated over and over again. You don't need to have the EU. You don't need to have any sort of unified currency that exists today, that you can't go back in the past and see a similar thing occurring and the mistakes that were made then being made yet again. And right here, they basically said the speculators saw a chance to attack Britain's currency and wreck a fledgling monetary union that would, many of them would never work. Basically, what we're saying here is what I talked about, that yes, in fact, the currency manipulators could push this down. Look at what's happening with the prices of different commodities. You see them being pushed down, and that could happen to this as well. I'm not suggesting that it can't, but we'll have to see where that goes. You can't just say, because of the fact that they're going to leave the EU, that somehow is going to weaken the pound. It doesn't necessarily happen like that. I'm just trying to point that out. Further towards the bottom here, you see this, that they agreed to push up interest rates to 12%. Imagine what would happen today if in the UK we saw 12% interest rates. Think of what would happen to the home prices. Think about what would happen to all of the speculation that goes on right now because of extra low interest rates. Well, obviously, we'd have a major catastrophe on our hands. So if George Soros is willing to say that, yeah, you know what, if they leave, there's going to be a big crash, but they're not going to push up interest rates. That half of the whole point is not going to happen. Just that whole crash part's going to happen. And it's a little bit silly to see it all, the way they talk about this, pure propaganda. Anyway, that's the information that we're seeing from a Brexit. That's the history. I hope you found that informative. Let me just quickly cover what's going on here. Rio de Janeiro, they're having the games in Brazil, and right away they're having a financial emergency, saying, please give us money. We have a really big problem and we're really screwed. So give us some money or there's going to be some major catastrophe for the games. Why in the world is a country with so much financial problem able to have all these different events take place there? This is not a good thing. The people of Brazil are suffering. And hang on to that for a moment. U.S. low-skilled males drop out of the jobs market. Labor participation rate among prime age workers is almost the lowest in the OECD. You can see this being very clear, very evident. I've covered those numbers before, as you see the labor force participation rate, particularly with the prime age workers. I mean, that's really, it's not the elderly people and they can't find work. Perhaps they were let go, can't find work. We're talking about prime age workers right here, and they are unable to get the jobs that they need. Venezuela ransacks stores as hunger grips the nation. This obviously is a dramatic photo, but it is happening in Venezuela as you see massive riots taking place, food riots. Everything that's going on right now was predicted. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to have a crystal ball. I've been warning about this for years now on YouTube, documented proof that when you have a catastrophe in a nation, you will have food riots. You will have people on the street. You will have civil unrest. That is a documented fact, and it's happening right now in Venezuela. U.S. and Russian jets clash over Syria. I'm not going to cover the article. Basically, what I wanted to just say from this is that there's a lot of saber rattling going on. There's a lot of rhetoric. There's not too much real substantial information that we're even getting out of this. All I know is that even for perhaps as a mistake, we could see the wrong incident occur and could lead to something much bigger. That's what worries me. It's that maybe they didn't intend on fighting, but someone hit the wrong switch, someone bombed the wrong place, and it triggers something else much, much bigger. Healthcare, automotive, and fashion industries predicted to be hit most by technological innovation, and robots will soon outnumber human beings. Think about the prospects for that. Yes, robots are helpful. Talk about it all the time. Every time I mention it, even people still come and say what their 2 cents about it. But anyway, robots and automation are replacing jobs. They're making life easier in a way, but undoubtedly, they're replacing jobs. And this is not getting any better. A Belgian hospital was just welcomed as newest staff member, Pepper, a humanoid robot that speaks 19 languages. This is not just in Belgium. In fact, in Toronto, many of the there's one hospital, in fact, that I'm remembering that I visited. Although I didn't see the robots, I did see the news information about it, that robots are working there, bringing your food and drinks and everything to your rooms. Perhaps it's in a different wing or a different section or anything, but regardless, in the hospitals and in other sectors, we are seeing robots becoming more and more prevalent, so stay tuned to that. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, you'll definitely find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. Head over to Amazon, where you can actually flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care. If you're still here, quick message for you. I'm just planning on doing some videos over the course of the next while and onward. Very short videos, maybe as short as 1 minute long, that would be very to the point explanations of a particular topic. For example, unemployment rate. If you wanted to know where to find the unemployment rate, you watch this video and I tell you exactly the link to go to. I tell you how to find it if it's from a different country and you want to go to a search engine, what to look for, maybe other relevant points for that, and then give you the links in the description and end the video. That's it. So it'll be a whole bunch of different short videos that are very, very specific, where I won't mention my book at the end of the video, won't do anything like that. It'll be a very specific topic, and then I'll just move on next video. That's all. So let me know if you're interested in that. I think it would be great to add to the Money GPS eCourse, where I can just give them more and more free information, where people can get rid of all that cloudiness, get rid of all that haze that's in front of our eyes, and we can get to the real truth. And I intend on trying to do that. So just anything, maybe vacancy rates. You want to know what the real estate environment is. So I'll tell you, okay, this is where you go to see the vacancy rates. This is where you go to see the how much construction is going on right now. This is the perhaps even like lumber prices or anything else. All the interconnected things. I just list them for you, tell you where to go, and then end the video. Tell me if you're interested in that. And that's all. Take care.